Talking about the Category 2 budget, like I said, it is a formula budget. Keep in mind it is $153.74 currently, but it is subject to inflation, and inflation figures usually come out in January. So if you are trying to do the math today, you can use the current amount, or you can just estimate for yourself at 155-ish to kind of figure out what your totals will be and how much money you have left to spend. It does not matter. You can list a laundry list of things on your 470 that you want and then pick and choose what fits. So if you find that you have $20,000 left and you know that you want to do a special project at one school, but you also need routers at the other, you can put both on your 470, and between now and the time that we file your 471, choose which project you actually want to fund. You may come in and find that the project that you want to do is 30 grand and you don't have money for it, so you actually want to do those routers. If you've forgotten to put those routers on the 470, then we're in trouble. You have to have it on the 470 for it to go to the 471. So it's better to list more than you need rather than leave something off. It is a 5-year period. The clock starts the first year that you ask for the money. However, this was a pilot project that went into place 3 years ago. So we have this year and next year to ask for the remaining funds that were in that first pilot project. USAC did just ask, and the FCC, for input of what this budget looked like and if you felt like this amount was sufficient, and it is done building per building, and some people replied and said, I'd rather have it at a district level instead of building per building because that's causing me some paperwork problems. So those kind of opinions have just been taken in from the FCC and USAC, so we hope to find some kind of a understanding of what this will look like moving forward within the next year or so, but right now, this is the money that is here, and one of my goals for this year is to spend as much of this money as we possibly can and get stuff for your school districts. So you will find, if you have not spent any of it, our wonderful partners from Education Superhighway will probably be emailing or phone calling you and saying, were you aware that this money is here? Because they want you to spend it too. So that is one of our main projects this year. If you are a small district and you have less than, I think it's 63, but I'll need to do the math, students, in a building, the $9,412.80 is a minimum amount. So even if you're a district that has multiple buildings, if one of your buildings, like your pre-K building, has less than that amount of students, you do get that minimum $9,000 amount there. So there is a floor. It is not, again, you're not required to spend all of it, and you do still have to pay your portion. So it's good to kind of think of it in a 5-year period. If you're limited on funds locally, then you can spend it over the 5 years and kind of space out what project you want to do each year to kind of roll it out. It also needs to be said, and was a major discussion last week, anything that you are going to put in your building that enhances the access of the building, that is network related, wiring or hardware that's going to be connected to the wall, counts for your 1% sales tax. So those are like building upgrades. I don't remember what the title is for that. If anybody thinks of the real name for it, let me know. But you can use your 1% sales tax to pay for your portion. So that's a big discussion in a lot of counties who have now passed that 1% sales tax. Also, we have a technology revolving loan fund at the State Board of Education that cycles through different buildings each year. So one year it's grade school, the next it's middle, the next it's high school, and cycles back through. Those funds are primarily requested for devices. So if you can use your Category 2 funds to pay for your network, you might be able to look at that low interest loan to get devices for your students. And so that is always a focus of our schools is, this is great, but I still don't have end user devices. And so that might be an option for you. It is a low cost loan available through ISB. So you can check that out as well. Questions or comments on the budget? Okay, this is the fun part. There is a tool. We are going to go to it, and we are going to attempt to see how much money that you have left. However, to use the tool, you have to use the building entity numbers, not the district. So, I know, and everybody's like, what? The building numbers? So I will use the example of Richland School District that I have here. From your EPC landing page, under My Entities, you will see the district, which is the number that we normally use and refer to as your district, but you'll also see all the other buildings within the district. Each building that has students in it has a number assigned to it, and this is the count of how they figure how much money you have. So we assign our students to the individual buildings, and the individual buildings then have a Category 2 budget. So in this example, we will use Richland County Elementary, 72929, and I will show you, I'll forget that by the time I get in here, from the usac.org site. So it is just usac.org. We are going to choose schools and libraries. And then over on the left-hand side, we are going to choose tools. And I'll wait for a second in case you're catching up. So it is usac.org, schools and libraries, and then tools. And there is a wealth of tools on this website. When you call me and want to know your E-rate person has left and you have a brand new E-rate person and they want to know what's going on with your district, I use a lot of these tools to kind of get a picture of what's going on. You can search for BIN number of your district, by zip code and things like that, which is really handy. But if you scroll down under the 471 tools, you will find a Category 2 budget tool. There is a wonderful little PDF that you can print out and go through multiple pages of how to do it, or we could just do it together right now. So Category 2 budget tool, again, the tip is to use the building number, not the district number, and you can do it with commas in between if you have more than one building. So 72929. I'm going to enter here, 72929, and just to give us a better picture, I'm going to go ahead and add the other two districts, 72930 and 72933. Please note back here, oh, I need to have a space there. Please note back here on the landing page, she does have it broken out for her district office as a component. There are no students assigned to the district office, so that entity will have no budget. She has another one that is her bus barn, and that won't have a budget either because there are no students assigned to that building. So I've used the 3 buildings she has assigned students to, the elementary, the high school, and the middle school. I entered all 3 of those entity numbers into the search tool, and then I'm going to click Look Up Category 2 Budget Status. So I'll wait for you guys to catch up and look up your own. So the first thing that we know is it does list all 3 buildings, so I haven't transposed any numbers or anything. Those are all 3 Richland County buildings. There's a little plus sign in the front of each one that will break it out, and it will give for you, and maybe I'll make that a little bit bigger for you all. It will break out for you, in general, how much money was figured for the budget for this building in 2015-16, how much was approved and what they asked for, and how much remains for that building. This is not a like add to it total, this is a running total. So notice between this year and this year, her budget increased. That implies there were more students identified in that building. And so it will give you a figure of what it is. If you want even more detail, I hear some whispers. You can feel free to ask questions out loud if you want. It will break it down for you by the individual FRN that was funded. And it will tell you what you requested and what you were approved for. Notice it does say pre-discount amount. So as you're filing this, it gives you the total amount pre-discount, and you are still having to pay for your portion. So the bookkeeper might tell you that you have spent $2,000 on this FRN, where this shows $2,500 because of the discount disparity. So you, USAC paid $2,000 of it, and you paid $550, kind of thing.
Does it show like what that line item is actually?
So then that's the limitation of the tool. So we can go back into E-Rate Central or to that 471 form from that year and get a better idea of what that line item was. Depending on how well the person coded the information, if it's items like routers and switches and things, you can kind of figure out what that, if they named it correctly and said this was for this building and this was for this lab, that's helpful, but we don't all do that. Sometimes it's just I need these 3 switches and they're 24 port, but you can kind of figure out where they are. If you see a large amount of money placed here, usually that is a wiring project or something where they did an upgrade of a building itself. So you can kind of run this. My problem with the tool is that we are only looking at 2015 and 16. 2017, which we're currently in right now, is still being funded and has not been loaded up to the tool yet. So if you're doing the math here and wondering if it's correct, you're going to have to factor in whatever you asked for last year at this time into your total that has been spent. Some districts are finding they have nothing left because they spent it all in the first 2 years, and some districts are finding they have everything left because they haven't spent anything at all. Any revelations that you're having at your tables looking at your figures? Everybody's like, no, I'm feeling
Well,
okay
there's
with
5
it.
years, and there's 2 years left, and here's 2 years, there's one.
There's the one in your, no, so it started with 2015-16, and then we went to 16-17, and right now we are in 17-18, and it's not showing on the tool. So you have to take into account what was asked for last year and add it to this total. And as for when the tool will be updated, I'm not sure. I'm kind of hoping that there is a tool built into the 471 and that it will also include this year in it so that we'll have a really good picture of how much money is left. I will tell you there are districts that are reporting that this is not exactly accurate. So maybe you decided not to do this project right here with the $12,000. There's a form to fill out to return that money back to your pot. It's called the Form 500. And if you filled out that form, some districts are reporting it's not reflected in this tool. So if you've returned some of that money, you might want to call USAC and explain how that's different. One district in particular said by default the system had divided up your bills that you did district-wide equally per building. And in most districts we have more grade levels and more students in our grade school than we have in our middle school and our high school. And so it was divided equally, so he was finding he had no money left in the middle school and high school and extra money in the grade school. And that wasn't really the reality. So he filled out a BEAR form and replied back to USAC and said, these are the true percentages that I want so that I have that $10,000 device not divided equally, but divided by student count so that he could put some more money back into the high school. And once he did all of that and corrected it, it wasn't reflected here. So he took a screenshot of that and the spreadsheet and sent it back to USAC, and they have updated his numbers. So they will fix it if there's something incorrect. You just need to put in a support ticket and remind them, I filled out a Form 500 for this and my money's not reflected in the tool. So I think their focus at this point is really on the portal itself and the updates to the portal that are necessary, and this is kind of an afterthought. And so if you remind them that it needs to be done, they will fix it for you, but there are some discrepancies that districts are reporting. The difference between committed and funded is committed means it was committed in full and everybody got it. Funded usually means it's funded, but maybe the money hasn't been collected yet. And I think in their case it was, but again, the tool may be a little bit off. Questions or comments about the Category 2 tool? When we get into the portal, I can show you where to find last year's figures if you need to add last year's in as well. So it is a pretty useful tool. Again, I'm hoping to see it in the 471, but I don't have a magic ball, so I can't tell you what's going to be in there until it hits the presses.